What's up everybody? Welcome back to Golf Simulator Videos. We're back today with another Swing Catalyst video to talk about the difference between their USB Fox camera and their Gig-E LYNX camera. So I actually showed you guys the Swing Catalyst Home Software Edition software before that really is great. I mean, it's a low-cost software that allows you to use microphone activation essentially without a launch monitor or with any launch monitor of your choice because it uses the microphone activation to trigger the recording. So it makes it really simple at a low cost. But I want to kind of focus on hardware today and the differences in what you might choose between the USB Fox Swing Catalyst camera and then the Swing Catalyst Gig-E LYNX camera. All right, so let's start off by just talking about what they look like. So the form factor of this Gig-E camera, this LYNX camera, is a little bit bigger, and then you're going to notice on the back of them, I'll do a kind of a little zoom in for you guys here. You'll see that it's a USB plug on the back of the Fox camera, and I just have a lens cap on the front of it right now. All right, so good look at the Fox camera, and then let's look at the LYNX camera. So the LYNX camera has just a little bit bigger form factor, a little bit longer, and then you'll see on the back it has that Ethernet port, which is actually a PoE driven Ethernet port. Let's talk about connectivity and the differences in why you might choose this USB Fox camera versus the Gig-E LYNX camera. The first thing to look at would be your cable length. So USB is limited by cable length. So depending on how long you need, it's a lot easier to run longer cables. Actually, it's pretty much mandatory because of the speed. You will get, if you try to extend USB cables, it's not going to work. It's just too much resistance for the USB. It can't transfer the data over that. But when you're talking about Cat6 Ethernet cable, it can actually deliver the PoE, the power over Ethernet, and the data with a much longer length. I mean, if you needed to run 50 to 100 feet, it still can do that, all right? So now let's talk a little bit about the quality, resolution, frames per second, things like that. And I'm going to show you guys a demonstration shot here in a second. And I think you're going to notice there's quite a bit of a difference between these two cameras. First would be frames per second. So the Gig-E LYNX camera actually does about 60 frames per second more, and I'm going to show you what I'm actually receiving in the video settings here in just a second. So you're going to get a much higher frames per second, which is a little bit noticeable in this PoE Gig-E LYNX camera. And then the other thing is resolution is actually sacrificed just a little bit in this Gig-E. So it's just a little lower resolution. You can't quite notice in the video, but I was able to actually get the exposure lowered more, and you'll see that the shutter speed, because it's higher, is actually freezing that face-on club better than what you'll see in that previous video I did using the Fox USB camera. So pay attention to that when we do a demonstration shot here in a second. But that kind of covers everything just up front. And then we'll do a demonstration shot and show you guys all the settings. So if you guys are looking to purchase the Swing Catalyst cameras or software, make sure you shoot me an email. I'll pin it to the top of the comments and put it in the description. They take excellent care of my viewers over there at Swing Catalyst. But first thing first, let's go ahead and just grab a club here and take a swing so you guys can actually see side by side the difference between the Swing Catalyst Fox USB and the Swing Catalyst LYNX Gig-E cameras. All right, that's buffering and recording and putting it up in my session there. I'm actually going to take down the studio camera so it's not blocking. So we'll take that down for you guys. We'll go ahead and open the recording. And then you may notice a little bit of a difference in the syncing of the two cameras. I noticed this. It's because you're running two totally different platforms. They're receiving data at a different speed, all right? USB versus that Ethernet. And guess what? That actually is showing you how much faster the Ethernet is than the USB. But let's go to the takeaway position, right where the club starts to move. We'll try to get it close for both of them. All right, so there's control 1. Let's go to the top, right where I start to move. Control 2, you guys have seen this in previous videos where I set all the different positions. And then you might notice impact just a little different here. See that? Right before and right after. That's the difference in that speed in the two cameras. But let's go ahead and just look at the standalone position before takeaway. Like I said, I think you're going to notice that the resolution of the LYNX camera on the right, so that is the LYNX camera on the right, is just a little bit lower than the resolution from the USB on the left. But once we get up into some faster swing action, let's go frame by frame, you're going to notice that it misses a frame or two on the left versus the right. As I go frame by frame, it's just not catching quite as much because it's 60 frames or so per second. I'm going to show you those settings here in just a second. And then also what I notice is, even though the resolution is a little bit lower on that camera, notice how frozen the club is, how you can really kind of see exactly where the face is at impact, and I can see right before impact and right after impact. And then if you look on the left, you're still getting that frozen club, but if you look at the previous video that I did, the face on camera couldn't quite freeze that club as much as this Lynx camera is. So, you know, the ability to lower that exposure, you're probably going to get just a little bit better frozen action. And like I said, more frames per second. You're going to have your, cable longer, with Ethernet. So it's wild how you can see those differences between the USB Fox and the Ethernet Gig-E Lynx cameras. But let's go to the settings really quick. We'll go up to settings. We'll go to cameras, and here's the Fox. This is the down-the-line camera, the USB. We'll go to camera really quick. You guys can look at my settings. I'm getting 249 frames per second. If you look down in the lower left right now, it will say received 248.99. Okay, so I'm receiving those through USB. And then if I go down a little bit further to the Lynx camera, we'll do the same thing. There's my settings. I'm actually receiving 310.75 through Ethernet. All right, so you're just getting more frames per second, and you'll see my different settings there on exposure. Notice how low that exposure is, only 460. And my lights are good in here, but they're not amazing, and that's what's allowing that shutter speed to just be so fast and freeze the image. So this is going to be a little bit of a personal preference thing, depending on what you guys are trying to do and the differences between these cameras. And then let's go ahead, it's on 5%. Let's show you guys a full slow motion 5% video of a swing. You're going to see just a little bit of difference in, when you're doing this versus frames per second, you'll see just a little smoother video in live feed. If you're going frame by frame, you're going to see more. Really nice quality. I like the results, honestly, that I'm getting from both cameras. I think that it's going to be a personal preference thing. And then, as always, I want to point you guys out. Most people that are doing a lot of swing recording are going to have a much brighter environment than I have. I only have a face-on LED and then one LED panel behind for the down the line. And then I have a very, very dark environment. So if you guys are looking to do swing recording, you might want to have a much brighter environment that actually allows you to reflect more light. Since I'm in a completely black environment, I mean, you're talking black curtains on the side, black wall in the back, black wall in the ceiling, everything, and then only two lights facing on the golfer, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for these cameras to get the exposure that they need to give you the best results. So I always want to point that out. But it's nice to point out what you can achieve in a dark environment with both of these cameras. I really hope this has helped you guys understand the difference between the USB 3.0 Fox and then the Gig-E Lynx and the capabilities. Feel free to comment below. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll put some additional information in the description so you can actually compare the specifications between the Fox and then also the Lynx, and then I'm happy to answer any questions you guys put down in the comments below. And like I said before, as always, if you're looking to purchase Swing Catalyst software or hardware, make sure you shoot me an email. I'll pin that to the comments and put it in the description as well. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned. We'll talk to you soon.